And now...
What is this?
I know you're gonna dig this.
This is the Flatland Sports Podcast.
Where do you come from? Lubbock, Texas?
Lubbock, Texas.
A place called Lubbock.
I wonder if they think I'm so gorgeous back in Lubbock.
What do you care about Lubbock? You're big time now.
I'm just a little homesick, that's all.
Is that what you want, Larry, to spend the night in Lubbock, Texas at a day's inn with a $15 voucher from Cinnabon?
Lubbock? No, it's near Lubbock.
What's it like there?
It's flat, real flat. You stand on a coffee can, you can see Colorado.
Happy Thursday from the Great Plains of West Texas. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast. Congratulations, pat yourself on the back. We made it. We are 2 days away from real college football being played. Kansas State versus Iowa State. We will discuss that matchup and much, much more. Also have some tough news coming out of fall camp this week for the Red Raiders. First, Red Raiders in action this week. Texas Tech soccer at Santa Clara tonight at 9:30 on ESPN+. It'll be a late one for the Red Raiders. Also can hear that on 88.1 KTXT. Now the Red Raiders are 2-1 after a 4-1 win versus Youngstown State last Sunday. Currently sitting at number 18 in the top drawer soccer poll. Texas Tech also claiming the Big 12 Offensive and Defensive Players of the Week in Taylor Zajewski and Macy Blackburn. Now, on the football side, let's move on to football. Some devastating news came out of fall camp this week. Quintin Joyner reported to have a torn ACL. This was confirmed by Joey McGuire shortly after. He is out for the season. The injury occurred, assumingly, in the second scrimmage on Saturday. And you can't hate that enough. You just an absolute gut punch for Texas Tech, absolute gut punch for Quintin Joyner, who was a huge pickup in the portal, picked Texas Tech over Ohio State, kicked off all the storylines regarding Texas Tech, NIL, Cody Campbell. He really was the name that hit the portal and committed to Texas Tech that set off the entire firestorm that was the previous offseason. Came to Texas Tech. He wanted to be closer to home. Taj Brooks was sort of a mentor to him, and he was expected to be a big, big piece for Texas Tech in the running back room. The first head of a three-headed monster, and picking up right where Taj Brooks left off, which was, if you were asking me at the end of last season, was my biggest concern going into this season. So what does it mean? What does it mean for Texas Tech? Well, from the surface, it means you're going to be a lot less talented at running back. You're losing a huge piece of your offense. Now, the good news is you're going from being great, just an absolute great, unstoppable force, to still being pretty good, as compared to going from being good to just being terrible, like you saw last year in the Washington State game where Taj Brooks was out with an injury. We're from incidents like this, from injuries like this, we're going to see what really makes this team different than Texas Tech teams past. Because coaches since the beginning of time, have talked about next man up mentality. It sounds great, but for the last 15 years, Texas Tech has really just been lucky to have the first man up in any given position. So this year, the depth that you've had, you're going to have depth that you've never seen before, that Texas Tech fans have never had anywhere close to before. You've got 4 years of top 25 recruiting classes coming in, plus the number one transfer portal class. And your running back room was especially deep. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be better without Joyner. You're not. You're absolutely not going to be better. But if there was a position that could handle a hit like this, it was definitely the running back room. You're going to need two very talented but very young, inexperienced guys to step up and really carry the team on the back. First name that comes to mind is going to be Cam Dickey. He's a sophomore this year. He was a 4-star out of high school, played in 12 out of 13 games last year, split the runs with Taj Brooks. He had 41 carries, 225 yards, and a touchdown. He's a very physical back, just a power his way through kind of guy. He's going to run people over. Just an absolute train. Also wears the number 33, which as a Cowboys fan to me means he's clearly the reincarnation of Tony Dorsett. Next guy that you're really going to have to watch and need to step up, who played great last year when he was out, Jacoby Williams. He's also a sophomore. He was also a 4-star out of high school. Appeared in 10 games. Started in the Liberty Bowl when Taj Brooks sat out for the bowl season. Was going to be a red shirt before Cameron Valdez was injured and then eventually medically retired. Jacoby Williams had 236 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 41 carries, 10 catches, 100 yards, and 1 touchdown through the air. He was the primary kick return last season. Very fast, very slippery, and fantastic at getting yards after contact. You put these two players together, you basically have one Taj Brooks. And when you have a guy like Taj Brooks, the saying is, how do you replace him? You don't, but you do with a couple guys like this. And also, don't overlook Adam Hill. He is a true freshman. Joe McGuire has been very complimentary during fall camp of Adam Hill. Specifically said, we have to find a way to get him more touches during the season. Now, I'm sure Joe McGuire would prefer another way to have found Adam Hill some opportunities, but Adam Hill will get some opportunities now. I would imagine specifically on special teams. Previously, the belief was that Jacoby Williams would still handle the bulk of the special teams work in the kick return game, the punt return game. Now you really need Jacoby Williams healthy. You need all of them healthy. You can't afford really to lose another one. But you need Jacoby Williams healthy and to be able to split the running back work with Cam Dickey. And so I would expect to see Adam Hill a lot more in the special teams game. I would expect to see him work his way maybe into some 2-back sets, and maybe just as a rotation between Jacoby Williams and Cam Dickey. You have talent in the running back room, but now the biggest problem is the running back room went from being one of the deepest in the country to now without Quintin Joyner, a point of concern. You really need 4 guys in the running back room at all times, especially for the early games, especially if you expect to be up high late against Arkansas Pine Bluff. You don't want to see Jacoby Williams or any of them getting touches and potentially getting injured. So does someone move to running back? If so, who? I think what I'm hearing through the grapevine is Michael Henderson will get some more work this year. He'll be the guy that comes in late in games. He may not have to burn his red shirt if he only has to play within the first 4 games of the season, or be a player that will come in when in garbage time when you need to protect your guys. Michael Henderson is definitely a name that I would expect to see. Now, the 3-headed monster that you had, though, without Quintin Joyner, it turns into a 2-headed monster, which can be just as lethal, just as dangerous. You're just not going to see as many 2-back sets as Mac Leftwich would have liked. You'll probably have a more traditional spread offense, 1-back, maybe a couple 2-back sets here and there, but you definitely don't want to be putting both of those running backs on the field at the same time too often. You have to keep them healthy. Now that Quintin Joyner is out, you're able to absorb this punch. You're not going to be able to absorb another one. But all that said, the offense should not be taking a step backward. Now, I do expect to see it, and I expected it to look like this anyway, but I expect to see the offense a little bit more reliant on the passing game this year. Last year, you put the ball on Taj Brooks' back and you let him go to work, and that was good enough to get you 8 games. This year, with Baron Morton healthy, I would expect to see the offense spread it out a lot more, throw the ball a lot more, and not have to rely on the running game as much. But if you do, and when you do have to run it, you've got 2 great backs that should be able to step up. The only question mark I have about them is they're both still young. But this is the year, regardless, that I would have expected to see both of them take the next step forward to be great fixtures of the Texas Tech offense moving forward. Overall, though, it's just a real shame. The biggest hit from losing Quintin Joyner is going to be from Quintin Joyner himself. He was expected to have a huge season. He was all in on this team. He was all in on being a Red Raider. Again, he picked Texas Tech over Ohio State, was expecting to take Texas Tech and be a part of Texas Tech's run to the college football playoff, and he's going to have to watch it from the sidelines now. I wish Quintin Joyner a speedy recovery. I hope to see him back in 2026. Now, moving on now, there is real football being played this weekend in our look around the Big 12. There's only one game in town this week. It's out of town. It's Farmageddon in Ireland. Excuse me. Potato Farmageddon in Ireland. And I'll tell you, I love it. I absolutely love this game. And a lot of people hate it, particularly people from Manhattan, Kansas, and Ames, Iowa. And I get it. I really do. Now, Texas Tech and Baylor was outsourced to Arlington for about a decade, from 2009 until about 2021. As a fan, it absolutely sucks to lose a home game like that, especially in a major rivalry like Farmageddon. On the other side of it, though, if we're looking at it from a Big 12 standpoint, if we're looking at it from a neutral fan standpoint, you're going to get a major Big 12 ranked versus ranked rivalry game on TV, and it's the only game, not just the only game on that day, it's the only game on the entire week. And it's not just any week, it's a week where people have been chomping at the bit to watch a real college football game. Last year, we got to watch Florida State get blown out by, was it Georgia Tech? And usually we get a game like Hawaii versus Cal, or a G5 team, someone from the MAC, someone from the Mountain West here and there. We're watching it because it's football and it's on, and we've been depraved. But this game is a real game. This is ranked versus ranked. Two teams that are very much in the college football playoff conversation. Two teams very much in the Big 12 title conversation. For the fans, though, it's just going to be an awesome experience for the players, the fans, the band, everyone who's going to attend this game. It's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and also an awesome experience for the locals who are going to get a dose of the Big 12, of a Big 12 rivalry like Farmageddon, which is by far the perfect game to send to Ireland. I couldn't think of a better matchup to showcase in Ireland. It's also going to include a WWE experience pregame, so the fans there are going to get to watch some WWE action before the game as part of a Big 12 partnership with WWE. Basically, it's just a once-in-a-lifetime experience for all involved. It's going to come at the sacrifice of losing a home game, losing a game like Farmageddon. I agree with people when they say that Farmageddon should be played in November on a home site, usually in about a foot of snow. And those games are precious, those games are priceless, and it sucks to lose them. But this game is going to be something worthwhile. If you're going to lose it, this makes up for it, in my opinion. And the Big 12, this is an opportunity that you have to take advantage of. Because this is a week, and I've heard people put down this matchup this week, because why put it on this week when you could just put two group of 5 teams, or a North Carolina versus the Waverly School of the Blind, and we're going to watch it anyway because, again, we've been depraved of football for 6 months. And I'll tell you that, when you have an opportunity like that to take center stage and showcase not just a Big 12 game, not just a Big 12 versus a G5 game, but you've got a ranked versus ranked best of the Big 12 matchup this week on a week where nobody else is going to be watching. This is why the Big 12, the Big 12 and Brett Yormark has been very particular about jumping at opportunities like this. This is why the Big 12 never schedules rivalry games on rivalry week, because you're not going to compete with OSU and Michigan, Bama, and Auburn for TV ratings. This time, you've got one of the best Big 12 games of the season on a week that everybody is going, and I mean everybody, is going to be watching. As for the game itself, both teams are ranked. Iowa State, number 22, Kansas State, number 17. Iowa State, fresh from an appearance in the Big 12 championship game, also had a big win over Miami in their bowl game. Kansas State, considered one of the front runners to win the Big 12. There is a 3-point spread in favor of Kansas State right now. Both teams, I believe, are returning quarterbacks. Now, the biggest downside to this whole game is that the losing team, more than likely, if we go off of the history of what the AP poll has been doing, losing team likely falls out of the AP poll. Maybe if Kansas State loses a close game, they'll drop down to 24 or 25 after a loss. Regardless, though, it should be a great one from the Emerald Isle, and a great opportunity to showcase Big 12 on Big 12 violence, a great opportunity to get the Big 12 name in front and on the forefront of the college football playoff watching world's minds. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Kansas State to win 21-17. Now, next Wednesday, we'll have a full slate of games to pick from, and we'll go over each and every one. Now, another thing I want to get to today, the Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti floated, and the way they worded this was funny. They floated the idea, almost like if you're going to, if you want to ask a girl out and you're afraid of getting rejected, so you kind of put it out there as a joke. You're like, hey, yeah, was that a joke? Are you interested? The Big Ten floated the idea of expanding the playoff to 24 or 28 teams. And I'm going to read the article here. For example, the 28-team model, the Big Ten and SEC each would get 7 auto bids, while the ACC and Big 12 would receive 5. There would be 2 auto bids for the non-Power 4 conferences and 2 at-large teams. Now, I'm going to tell you, I have been pushing for college football to just copy and paste the FCS model, which uses a 24-team playoff. This is not it. This is absolute garbage. No conference needs or deserves 7 bids. No conference even deserves 5 automatic bids. Now, the plan I had, what I really want to see for college football and what I think would be great is you take essentially the FCS model. It's a 24-team playoff, and I just want to see all 10 conference champions. Big 10, Big 12, SEC, all the way down to the MAC, Conference USA, all of it. If you play Division I FBS football, your conference champion gets you in the playoff. And after that, we can use a committee to determine the teams. The reason I want this is, one, every school, every conference, every game needs to matter. Now, if you're going to ask, what's the difference? 24 teams with an AQ model versus 24 teams with a committee. What's the difference? Wouldn't we rather have the committee gone? Yes, I believe the committee should be killed. And I don't mean that figuratively. I want them dragged out into the street and shot. But if you put in 5 auto bids for the Big 12 ACC, 7 auto bids for the SEC and Big 10, you've got almost half of all 4 of those conferences getting in. All you have to do to get into the playoff is finish in the top half of the conference. What are we doing here? One of the things, and sometimes I think it's cheesy, but one of the things that makes college football great is the regular season and how much the regular season matters. And you can't say the regular season matters when the top 7 teams of a conference are automatically getting into a playoff. And you've got a situation where Ohio State and Michigan are playing in week 14 and they're resting their starters because they both already secured number 1 and number 2 in the Big Ten. So in my version, the 24-team playoff, 10 conference championships, that focuses and puts emphasis on each individual conference race. You're going to look at the conference races. Every game is going to matter up until the final game and the final conference championship game, where the winner gets an automatic bid into the conference. And that doesn't matter if you're the SEC, that doesn't matter if you're the MAC or the Big 12 or the Big 10, whatever. It's going to keep the sanctity of the games alive. This, though, this isn't it. This is Tony Petitti. The thing about this is, and what Tony Petitti knows and what the Big Ten knows, and this is why I believe the Big Ten is just going to crash and burn before the end of the Tony Petitti era. They're fully aware of what they are. And what they are is they are the conference that put in 2 teams in the college football playoff in back-to-back years that scored 0 points. 0-point complete shutouts. With Michigan State, I believe it was to Alabama, and then the next year was Ohio State. And that Ohio State, by the way, was the one that was picked instead of the actual Big Ten conference champion, Penn State. Ohio State didn't even make the championship game. They put them in with a 9-3 record over Penn State, and Ohio State ended up getting completely shut out, scored 0 points against Clemson that year. And then the Big Ten proceeds to be left out of the college football playoff completely for the next 2 years. So I've been asking for a long time, when did the Big Ten just decide that they were going to call themselves Power 2 and everybody just went along with it? Now, when the SEC hears about an auto bid and hears about, we're going to give you 4 automatic qualifier spots like they were close to passing last time, or in this case, we're going to give you 7 automatic qualifier spots. SEC is like, okay, sure. Yeah, whatever. Sounds great. They're going to get those teams in anyway. They don't care. That's why when Brett Yormark of the Big 12 hopped in and proposed a format where the conference champions get in and then the rest are just AQs selected by a committee, SEC looked at that and thought, well, yeah, we'll actually get more teams in that way than we would the other way. So, yeah, sure, we're great with that. The Big Ten said, well, hold on now, because the Big Ten knows they're not good enough. They know they're not good enough. They are desperately clinging to this Power 2 status that they are losing their grip on. The Big Ten took shots last year, supposedly being a Power 2 team, but ESPN was relentless in how hard they talked about Indiana not deserving to be there. And when Indiana got blown out eventually, they were they're a Big Ten team. They're a team that is Power 2, supposedly. And were relentlessly picked on by ESPN as a team that didn't deserve to be there. So the Big Ten understands that while the SEC absolutely is a power conference, and as much as I hate the SEC, as much as I think the SEC is overrated, and they are overrated, they are still the best conference in college football, and they deserve that title. Now, is the Big 12 in a completely different league underneath? Absolutely not. The Big 12 has a 500 record against the SEC. The Big 12 can compete with the SEC. The Big 12 was a miracle 4th down pass by Texas in overtime away from beating one of the SEC co-champions in the college football playoff last year, and the rest of the SEC got eliminated in the first 2 rounds. So the SEC is the best conference. They're not in a league of their own. But the Big Ten, can you even make the argument that they're the second best? They have the last 2 conference champions in Ohio State and Michigan. They're also the only team to get left out of the Power 2, to ever be left out of the college football playoff. They're also the only ones, as we mentioned, to put up zeros in a game. They're also the only ones whose conference champion lost to a Big 12 team, in Michigan losing to TCU. The Big Ten is fully aware how precarious their situation is, and this is why they fight so hard. It's not going to be enough for them to win it on the field, because they know they can't. They have to legislate multiple bids, because sooner or later, Ohio State, that era is going to be over. They're going to have some down years, and the Big Ten is just going to get steamrolled, not just by the SEC, but by the Big 12 and the ACC. So let's move on. Before we close out, I got one last thing. A report of Aggies doing what Aggies do best, and that's avoiding playing Texas Tech in sports. It was announced this week that Texas Tech will be playing LSU at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth on December 7th for the U.S. LBM Coast to Coast Challenge. It was previously reported last spring, I believe, that A&M was supposed to be the opponent for the U.S. LBM Coast to Coast Challenge. No official reporting as to the reason. However, speculation and people that I've talked to are saying that it was A&M who backed out. The reason A&M backed out is because they didn't want to play Texas Tech, didn't want to play a very good Grant McCasland coach team while they're breaking in a brand new head coach. Tech and A&M played last season. Aggies won that game 72-67. It was also part of the U.S. LBM Coast to Coast Challenge. However, that game was supposed to be played in Lubbock originally, and the Aggies changed that at the last second as well. If Aggies get their way, they are never going to play Texas Tech in a sport again. They haven't played since in basketball. Last year was the first time they'd played since the Aggies left the Big 12, and that'll be it for the foreseeable future. I don't see A&M ever coming back to, certainly never coming back to Lubbock, even though they were close last year. And ever putting the Red Raiders on a schedule again, unless it's in baseball like they've done a couple times. But that's going to be it. We'll be back on Monday. It'll be officially game week. We'll go over everything you need to know about Texas Tech football and Arkansas Pine Bluff. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Flatland Sports Podcast. My name is Christopher Johnston. Please help me out. Subscribe, like the show. We need 50 subscribers on the channel to be able to do YouTube live shows, which is the ultimate goal for me. I want to be able to interact with you live in person. I think we can have a lot more fun that way. But until then, Wreck 'em Tech, thank you so much for joining us.